Hi everyone. So I recently wrote an article called Me Too or hashtag Me Too and you can get that on my website robinkoerner.com and other places where it got posted. And I stand by that article. I think it was an important point I made in there about let's not bastardize the true definitions of a victim and predator, such that we're less able to distinguish true victims and true predators from, on the one hand, people unfortunately on the receiving end of crass and gittish behavior, and on the other hand, people actually who are just crass, disrespectful, and gittish. I do not support crassness, disrespect, or gittishness, if I can coin that word. But it's a very different thing from actually doing real harm, and certainly from doing real harm with intent. That said, I always urge people that I talk to about all kinds of political issues to go and speak to folks with a different experience of the issue. And I've done that with respect to this Me Too thing, and I've got increasingly fascinated and shocked by just how prevalent male, I'm going to call it stupidity, among other things, is towards women. I've talked about a crisis of masculinity, which I believe we have in this culture, in our Western culture, in the form of men not being able to be overtly masculine and are having a kind of faux masculinity, right? Because nobody's kind of comfortable in their own authentic masculinity. We have advertisers pushing at us big trucks and the flipping of burgers and this kind of sports commitment sports teams, and it's like kind of vicarious masculinity and superficial masculinity, and that is definitely a problem. And I'm wondering if it's related to what I have discovered about how crap it is to be a young woman, an attractive woman, especially in our culture, among men of my generation and younger, well, and older, I guess, just men, who never learned basic bloody respect. I just, I've been starting to ask some of my female friends, like, what kind of proportion of guys they might meet on a dating app are just utterly inappropriate, or how often, in their everyday life, a guy just disrespects them in a way that's, overtly sexualized. And, here's the big thing. And if Me Too's done anything, if it's got this out, then good, because I've learned something here. To be a woman is to be on the receiving end of that all the time, right? Which is what they've been trying to tell us. Now, the bit that I didn't get, and I think that kind of Jon Stewart spoke to this when he did an interview recently about how he didn't know what the whole thing about Louis C.K., right, and how that's shocked him, is that I have no idea, based on my experiences of men, and maybe my male friends aren't typical. I'm sure they're not representative of the population. But anyway, I have no idea as to just how many men don't have a clue how to behave. Now, the thing that astonishes me most is, so I'm talking about things like, shouting out of a window at a woman walking down a street, some kind of, a car window, some kind of inappropriate remark, or the dating app thing now. Women have told me that the number of men who say or do something inappropriate to a woman they obviously don't know on a dating app, kind of almost out of the gate, it's pretty much a majority, right? So what the fuck is wrong with these men? I mean, it's not even a question of sexual harassment. It's just maybe it is, but I mean, more fundamentally, it's a question of, didn't you learn any bloody manners? This is astonishing to me, because when I'm around my friends and the men that I choose to make my friends, none of them are ill-mannered. But apparently, we're shooting about 50% idiocy and disrespect So it seems. If you talk to any of your female friends and just ask them, which is what I've started doing, you know, tell me any experiences like this that you've had in the last couple of weeks. And they'll start giving them to you. So this makes things a bit complicated, doesn't it? Because it must completely suck. They must get so bored of that. How have we let that happen? I'm interested in what men should be saying to men about it because, as I said, I think we have a crisis in masculinity. I think we need more alpha maleness, not less. And I think we need to turn around to these, well, the Louis C.K.'s of the world and the Weinsteins of the world and say, how pathetic are you, right? And we need their mothers to be saying out of the gate that this is how you treat a woman, and in so doing, this is how to be a man. You see, I kind of think that because we're now not comfortable being men and owning masculinity and celebrating our masculinity, no one can lift up authentic masculinity because it's almost a taboo. So what fills it is this pathetic distortion of masculinity that we've seen in so many of the stories recently. So, you know, it's not that masculinity is toxic. No, the opposite is true. Masculinity is a beautiful thing. What we need to do is tell men that disrespect, that crassness and gittishness is unmasculine. They are less men for doing it. And if they find that that's the only way they can deal with the woman, then they're stupid too. Because here's the thing that completely astonishes me. This is the thing that astonishes me the most. If I'm a man who's having those kind of thoughts about a woman, if I want something sexual out of a woman, and the entire sophistication of my response goes no further than shouting out of a car window or asking a woman if I can masturbate in front of her, Louis C.K. and all of that. You would have thought, right, even if that's who I am, if I'm made that way, that I would have realized that it doesn't work very well for me. That's the thing, right? If I'm a guy who's needing some kind of sexual affirmation or activity so much that I would leave my manners at the bloody front door, then you would think, motivated by that I would start to collect the data and go, okay, well, this isn't working very well. Being a completely rude bastard to every second woman that I find faintly attractive isn't actually getting me what I want from them. It's just stupid. So based on stupidity alone, shouldn't we men be saying to we men, what is this crap? Really? How pathetic are you? And I think that's how we need to start speaking about this. I think we need to make masculinity more of a thing so that we can look at these men who are being toxic in their approaches to women and say, that's the opposite of masculinity. That's what you do when you're not a man. That's when you do what you do when you haven't got the basics. And, I'm all about, celebrating and playing with that gender polarity between the masculine and feminine. And I've been saying for a long time, we've got a crisis now because men can't be men. We don't know how to do it. And in so doing, we're not giving women the joy of feeling like women. And I think there's a lot of women, certainly of the millennial generation, that want their men to make them feel like women, to be more men. Well, I think that was true as far as it went, but obviously I was missing a bit, which is that there are a bunch of men out there on the dating apps and shouting out of car windows who are making women feel very much like women, but a kind of a toxic womanliness, right? A toxic femininity. We're in our toxic masculinity, we're giving them that response to, we're showing them that form of masculinity. So how the hell do you expect them to respect? You guys out there that are disrespecting women, you're making it hard for the decent ones among us, right? Because you're making all the women out there skeptical. And now I'm realizing just how much good reason they have to be wary of any kind of approach. So look, man, we gotta men and mothers, right? Mum, it's okay to make your son a man. It's okay to use that word. Because only once you've used that word can you turn around and say, this isn't male, this is pathetic. And by the way, son, if you actually want to get with some attractive women, here's how not to do it. Don't disrespect them. Don't throw, crude one-liners out of a car window. Don't send a pic of your penis. If you want to get with women, attractive women, smart women, the kind of women you're going to want to be with, then why don't you learn a little bit about them? Indeed, why don't you learn a little bit about the difference between men and women? See, that's an interesting one, isn't it, right? Because, I mean, part of this Me Too phenomenon, I think, comes about from kind of, again, a lot of the people who are behind that of the more third wave feminist persuasion, collapsing that distinction, it's all socialized, etc., etc. Well, I think maybe the way to solve it is to kind of go the opposite way and say, no, you know what? Son, even though you might like very much for a woman to send you a pic of her vagina the first time you get on a dating app, they work differently from you. How about we be honest about the difference between men and women, right? So if you want that, don't do it, right? You might like the pic of, but they don't want the pic of you. Let's start on that. Let's own what can be great with masculinity. Let's model positive masculinity, because it's no good telling men that we're all awful, although it seems that we are. But what we got to do is say, look, here's the alternative. Here's positive masculinity. Here's an alpha male that shows their alphaness in getting what they want through respect. And that guy over there who looks like he's being masculine, that's a beta male. That's a beta male failing to get what he wants by showing disrespect. I'd be all about it. My God. So look, women, on behalf of my gender, I am damn sorry that we are so stupid that we haven't worked out. So many of us haven't worked out that this ain't getting us anywhere. But women, and so men, my call to you is, we have to start telling each other that's pathetic and it's not acceptable. And that's why I say go talk to your women friends, men, because if other men know that you are aware of the experiences that women are having and you as a man are not okay with it, and you look down at men who exhibit that behavior, like, don't pathologize it. I mean, we can pathologize it. I mean, I know that, when Jon Stewart did his whole thing about Louis C.K., is it like an addiction, blah, blah. Yeah, well, yeah, maybe. Maybe. But maybe we just got to stop. It's kind of weird because in unnormalizing masculinity, we've kind of normalized this hidden toxic masculinity. Except it's only hidden to everybody who isn't on the receiving end of it, i.e., other men, and we're all floundering around not seeing the problem. Okay, so this is the Me Too thing. Fair play. So I'm appalled at but yeah, the other thing I wanted to say is, let's not make it about sex so much, because I don't think it is. Men shouldn't behave like that because they shouldn't disrespect anyone in any milieu. I almost want to say that we see it in sex. We're focusing on that. It comes out that way, really, as a kind of a secondary effect of the fact that you've got men who've not been taught to respect other people, and the fact that men have a certain sexual, urge, right? A certain sexual imperative. But it's not about not sexually assaulting a woman. It's about just respecting everyone. It's just disrespectful. That's all you need to know, right? So that's what I'm thinking about that. Men, we need to start deriding other men for their pathetic beta maleness when they start behaving in all these ways that we've seen. Women, you know what? There are some good alpha men out there. It's okay, right? You can, obviously, they are. I know you have to go through a lot of crap to find them. But don't throw out the baby with the bathwater. Don't think that these men who've been determining the majority of your experience, for which I apologize, are representative of masculinity, of healthy masculinity. I urge you, rather than to throw the masculinity, bathwater out with the disrespectful baby, to help bring back into our culture positive masculinity. Celebrate the polarity too, right? Let us know you do want a man to be a man with you, because I know that you do. But there's certain ways in which that works and certain ways in which it doesn't. There's certain contexts in which it works and certain contexts in which it doesn't. And what underlies all of the contexts in which it does work is the establishment of mutual respect. Don't ask us not to be men. Ask us to be real men. And be very clear. A lot of men are, we have that ego thing, right? Manhood. You attack a man's manhood, and that's a big deal. I think that's where we go with this. We don't start thinking that the likes of Weinstein are, as it were, expressing his manhood. He's not. He's doing the opposite. He's doing something, he's expressing something that is not consistent with real manliness. So let's talk about manliness. Let's big up manliness and big down disrespect. How about it? Thanks, everyone.